Hey guys, Jeremy Vesey here, and today we're going to talk about Creative Market and making a living through passive income. Back in 2013, in September, I started Hustle Supply Co. That's the moniker that I use on Creative Market, and within 6 months, I was actually able to create a passive income full-time on Creative Market with this shop. So I wanted to create a quick video explaining what I've learned from the past 5 years as a top-selling Creative Market shop, and I just want to kind of try to inspire you guys to maybe start a shop. It doesn't really even have to be on Creative Market. It could be on any of the new design marketplaces that are out now. It's just more about trying to get your feet wet in the product design world. I guess my first tip would be create products that you could see yourself using. I've always thought that I'm my own best customer. So if I can get inside my own head and figure out what I want, then those are usually good products to create. So you need to ask yourself, what could you see yourself buying and why? And those are the questions you need to ask in order to figure out what you want to sell and also what does sell after all. Because a lot of people kind of build it up in their heads and they think, well, if I could just create these products because they're trending, then they might do well. But the problem with that is you need to kind of find your own voice on the marketplace. And the easiest way for you to do that is to create the products that you want to buy. So one of the things that I've done for a long time on Creative Market is create aspirational cover photos. So what does that mean? It means that when you display your product, you need to think of it as a product that's on a shelf. So for example, one of my most popular products is the Whiskey Font Collection. And I tried to create the cover to make it look like a whiskey label. And what that did was it showed the intended use of the product to the potential customers. One thing that I've always liked to do is pack my product with value. And what do I mean by that? I mean, when somebody sees the price of $15 or $18 or $20 on my product, I want to stack my product up against other products of the same price value, delivering the same product. Essentially, if it's a font, then I want to stack it up against a similar priced font, and then I want to ask myself, does this stack up? Will it stand out? And when people see my font next to other people's, are they going to choose mine? And if not, why? So you need to pack your product with value. You don't need to release a huge bundle with 90% off or anything. I think the biggest thing that you need to do is find your competitive edge. So for example, if I'm releasing a pack of typefaces, then maybe a good idea would also be to include illustrations that have the same aesthetic so that people feel like they're getting a bang for their buck. Also, don't just stick with Creative Market. I joined Creative Market in 2013. At the time, Envato with Graphic River and Theme Forest and these other sites were much bigger than Creative Market. And I got into Creative Market at the right time. I got in there when it was early, and I was able to release products and establish a name for myself. So you want to find other marketplaces around the internet. You want to establish yourself on those places, and maybe one marketplace your style will actually suit better. So the customers on that marketplace might actually prefer you over some of the top sellers that are on that marketplace on Creative Market. So for example, you might be more popular on another marketplace than I am. It's important to not put all of your eggs in one basket. So find another marketplace or just spread your products out across the internet. This might seem like a no-brainer, but I think a really big part of the success that I had on Creative Market was the fact that I was on Dribbble pretty early as well. I got onto Dribbble in 2012 and I started building a following, and I gained a modest following. I think I might have had 400 followers at the time when I joined Creative Market, but that was enough to push a little bit of traffic to Creative Market. And what that does is when you get a sale on a marketplace that has an algorithm based on popularity, then you can use your small to modest following to potentially get purchases. And a few purchases could potentially push you up within that algorithm in your section on the site. On the topic of establishing yourself on a design network such as Dribbble or Behance, you could also create your own website where you maybe do tutorials or you write blog posts about the industry, and this could help establish yourself, and it's all about just trying to build a little bit of traffic that you can then send to your shop. You have to think to yourself, these shops like Creative Market and other design marketplaces all run on algorithms. So what you want is you want to be able to push enough sales to that marketplace to move yourself up in the standing on their grid. So for example, if you release a product and you have no traffic going to it, it may just get buried beneath all the other products. But if you have a traffic source that you could potentially get 5 to 10 sales with, then all of a sudden your product moves up within the algorithm and you become more visible on those marketplaces. This also seems like a no-brainer, but you need to keep learning. And what I try to do is I try to learn with every product that I create. So instead of holding myself back and letting a certain product collect dust on the hard drive, I just release it and move on to the next. And the reason why is because perfectionism can actually hold you back. If you're too much of a perfectionist, then you'll never release a product. And if you never release a product, you never have an at-bat. And if you never have an at-bat, then you never have a chance of making any money online or getting any exposure. Another thing that I started to do about 2 years ago is I created an email list. And the way that I did that was I released free fonts. And I released those free fonts in exchange for a subscription. And over time, this email list grows and I'm able to actually push traffic from my email list to my Creative Market shop and also to other ventures that I create. The great thing about an email list is that there are no gatekeepers. So for example, on Creative Market, I have over 7,000 followers at the time. And the problem with that is I can't really reach them. I can, create a post that says, I've released a new product. But the problem with that is that it doesn't seem to reach everybody and it doesn't really give me any traction on the marketplace itself. So by having your own email list, you keep control, you can send emails when you want. Just remember to be respectful because you can have a lot of people unsubscribe if you're not delivering quality content. And just remember that business is difficult and it requires patience. A lot of people are willing to go to university for 4 years, invest their time and money in learning something with no real guarantee of a job when they get out. So imagine if you invested the same amount of time or even a fraction of that time into your business online. If you invested 4 years into your Creative Market shop or building a blog, there's a huge chance that you could have exposure by that time because you'll learn the inner workings of the marketplace itself. If you study the marketplace, and if you study the social platforms that you're using, such as Dribbble and Behance, the best time to post, what posts do well, what post gets the highest amount of engagement, these are the things that you need to study. You need to become passionate about marketing because business a lot of the time is about marketing, and sometimes inferior products sell higher because they're marketed better and they just understand their demographic better. So it's not necessarily about creating the perfect product, it's about creating a good product for your demographic and understanding what's in demand. And just remember, there's no way to hack it. Creative Market or any other design marketplace is flooded with products every day. And if you don't release a product, then you don't necessarily have a chance to gain exposure. So remember to keep creating products. Keep experimenting, try to find new design marketplaces, new emerging design marketplaces, and try to become an early adopter because that's how I became successful on Creative Market. I can attribute some of that to the fact that I timed the market correctly. When I first started making money on Creative Market, I thought that it was a fluke. I really didn't think that I could keep this going forever, and then after about a year or about 18 months, I really started thinking, I need to treat this like a real business. This isn't a fluke. This isn't just something that's going to go away. If I try to foster this and treat it like a garden in a sense, where I continue to water it with new products, then I could potentially build this into a bigger business. And that was correct, because after the first year, I thought that I was at the very top of the amount of money that I could make on Creative Market. And now I'm making 3 times that amount. So I hope some of this really helps you. I would love to answer any of your questions, so if you have a comment, just leave it below, and I might be able to create a video that goes over trying to answer some of those questions. And I'm just trying to share what I've learned over time, and anything that you think might be helpful, just let me know. So if you like this video, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.